Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna give this a shot. We're gonna pause the music first of all, and we'll see how it goes. Interesting. This will be fun. Okay, all right. Hello, everybody. It's been a while. 8 years actually. I actually don't think that most of you know who I am or what I've been doing previously on the internet. So I think introductions are in order, but for those of you who do know who I am, hello again. Regardless, I am Max. I am a software engineer and a solutions architect from Sweden, currently working in the telecom industry as an architect. I've been in this industry for about 12 years now, and during that time I managed to do quite a lot, actually. I've been self-employed. One of the first things I did was start my own company. Worked with agencies as a freelancer and also as a consultant. I've started companies with friends. I learned a lot about project management, client relations, sales, and the importance of systems when running a business. I've also been at startups and part of the core team to create that, the foundation of the services that we were providing and creating the product and all that. And of course, those roles were very multifaceted. I've been a consultant for both small and big companies or big agencies, both here in Sweden, but also abroad in Germany for a while. I've been in a product and service company, which I am right now, as an employee, and I'm working on these services and the architecture there. So I have this kind of broad experience from working in tech as a programmer, software engineer, architect, whatever you want to call it. And I dabbled in a lot of things, and I'm mostly self-taught. I did study for a while. High school was when I started programming for real. I did it back when I was a teenager as well. Do some C++ stuff just for fun. Back then it was, I don't know if you guys know MapleStory. It's an old, very old game where you can create your own server and host it. So that required some C++ experience. Yeah, and then I continued studied with some postgraduate studies for about 1.5 years, but mostly I taught myself. And so, in terms of like the technology, I started out as a front end and a design guy back in high school, and then I just started to gravitate more and more towards the full stack, getting into back end, both PHP, Node.js, Python, stuff like that, and eventually dabbled more into like the infrastructure of DevOps deployments, working with Kubernetes, Docker, stuff like that, running my own VPS on, back then it was DigitalOcean. I really loved that company back then. But nowadays, it's GCP, it's AWS and all the other fun stuff. And eventually I got into architecture, which I'm doing right now though. So now that you know that, I'd like to cover a little bit more about what I want to do with this YouTube channel. Since it's been about 8 years since I created my first video. Back then it was very unstructured and just for fun, really. This time around I have, I think, a better idea of what I want to do and the kind of value I believe that I can provide for my own life experience. I also have my script here, so I know what I wanted to say. So first of all, I'd like to talk about life in tech. How can you grow in this industry? The different areas that you can focus on and where you can go in terms of like the different career paths, management versus code, essentially. And also what it's like to work for yourself, creating your own things, working in your own company, comparing that to being a consultant versus being in a product company and service company and so on. So that's part of what I want to cover in tech. I also like to talk about one of the biggest interests of mine outside of tech, which is personal finance. I'm not talking about fancy investing strategies and betting on stocks through speculation and stuff. That's not my thing. I'm talking more about being in control over your own finances. It could be everything from budgeting to tracking your spending, and the psychology behind how to approach money so that it is not something that induces anxiety and just makes your life less stressful, I guess. Makes it easier for you to just do what you want. Then of course, programming and architecture in tech is the biggest interest. It's something I've done since I was a kid, playing around with computers, programming, and so it's not just my job, but it's also one of my biggest interests. And in terms of like the level of the programming topics, I think it's probably going to be more intermediate and advanced, more so than beginner, because I'm so far away from being a beginner myself that it's kind of hard to teach that from a beginner level, but we'll see. I'll probably go more into intermediate and advanced because I feel like that's also something that is lacking in YouTube or at YouTube. And finally, a big interest as well is having a meaningful and healthy life, and all that goes into that. This is of course a kind of a broad, big topic, so there's a lot of different things you can talk about. But something I deeply care about is where I have a lot of different perspectives from my own experience dealing with like mental health, stress and overwork, social life and relationships. So yeah, I understand that this might be the most vague topic so far, but I guess you get at least a sense of what I like to talk about. Plus, I do read quite a lot. I've done that for almost 10 years now, since I was about 20. So books mostly, which was a big part of me, reading books and learning new things. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's of course a lot of different things and different kinds of videos that I will be able to create over time. But that is at least the sort of niche that I will be focusing on with this channel. And these are the biggest parts of who I am as a person. Now that this will be the first video I record, and the format or the setup might change, you know, over time as I get better at this and I start experimenting more with how to do this from this space that I have. It's kind of a small apartment currently. So it's going to be both me talking directly to the camera, but also doing some voiceovers and doing things on the computer, obviously. But yeah, so the format might change. This is the first setup that I've been able to get going with. Finally, I'll be posting one video every week from now on. And as I go along, I will be evaluating how things are going and do my best to make sure that I make the videos that bring the most value and are the most interesting to you guys. So that's it. Thank you for watching the first video, and I'll see you soon.